Three early 19th century shipwrecks, found at the bottom of the Gulf nearly 200 miles off the mouth of the Mississippi River, provide tantalizing evidence of the Gulf's violent nature at that time. It was a period marked by struggles by Latin American countries for independence from Spain, as well as conflicts among the young United States, France, and Great Britain, notably the War of 1812. Those conflicts saw battles on both land and sea. Also, the political unrest of the time led to an outbreak of piracy that made the Gulf a feared spot for mariners. Now called the Monterrey Shipwrecks, Monterrey A, B, and C may have been sailing together and lost in a storm on a Gulf that continues to be known for the violence of its hurricanes. Monterrey B is a small, likely two-masted merchant ship of the early 19th century that was discovered in 2013 while archaeologists were completing the initial phase of research and excavation on the Monterrey A wreck. With sonar images of what were likely other wrecks close by, the team decided to slowly move the Nautilus toward the two sites, with the ROV also slowly moving forward, its underwater thrusters pushing it through the deep dark water. The wreck's wooden hull has largely vanished, leaving traces of heavily degraded wood and iron ship's stove, rolls of hides, and well-preserved crates that once held unknown contents, and rectangular whitish-colored blocks that for now remain a mystery. They may be resin, harvested from Central America for use in lacquer, or a natural rubber, also common to the region. The hides are well preserved and remain rolled up as they had originally been placed inside the vessel's hold for shipment. Cattle ranches and hides harvested from cattle were common on the Gulf Coast of Mexico from the Yucatan Peninsula up to Texas. They were a valuable cargo in an era where machine-made leather shoes were just entering the market.
One of the significant aspects of Monterrey B is its clear association with the cattle industry, which of course became huge not only in central Mexico, but of course later in Texas too. Those areas are well associated with hides, which produced, of course, leather, all sorts of other things that became very desired on the European market. The interesting thing at this period was that cattle were not really used as food. They had no refrigeration, so they weren't really butchered. Particularly in Mexico, they were simply killed and skinned, and the carcasses left where they lay.
Alcoholic beverage bottles on the wreck include bottles of gin and large hand-blown glass demijohns of a type used for agave-based spirits, like mezcal or the better-known tequila. These, too, were of value. The archaeological team suspect that Monterrey B may have been a small, Mexico-based trader who had either been captured along with the Monterrey C vessel by the Monterrey A ship, or which, with the other ship, was being escorted by the Monterrey A ship for safe passage across the dangerous, and at that time in history, violent Gulf of Mexico. However, when violence arrived in the form of one of nature's deadly storms, none of these ships survived. The number of artifacts include highly valuable navigational instruments and personal possessions, suggesting the vessel sank with no survivors. If caught in a violent storm so far out to sea, there was little chance of survival if the crew had to take to a small boat or boats on a wind-lashed ocean. The closeness of the other two wrecks, Monterrey A and Monterrey C, strongly suggests that they'd been sailing together and were lost together. Similarities among the artifacts on all three sites also indicate this. These include the bottles and ceramics and a specific type of clay container from Mexico called a cantaro. Research continues, and for now, there is no clue as to the vessels' names or exactly when these three vessels were lost. But Monterrey A is the only armed vessel in the group, which suggests that it had been escorting the other two to port, perhaps Galveston, New Orleans, or elsewhere, when the wind and sea sank them all. This is where archaeology can tell us more as research continues.